Sleep doesn't come easy. The hotel room feels suffocating in its stillness, broken only by the low drone of the TV. Silence has never sat well with me. There's always some noise in the background, whether it's the radio at work or a podcast in my ear. The quiet here feels heavy, wrong. Viremu's strange conversation with that older guy keeps circling in my head, no matter how hard I try to shove it aside. I flip through the TV channels, hoping for a distraction, but nothing sticks. Restless, the journal seems like a better option. Maybe spilling it all out on paper will make my brain shut up. Just after midnight, a soft knock sounds from the door. So faint it could have been a figment of an overworked mind. But there it is again, louder this time. Tension tightens my chest as I creep toward the door, pressing an eye to the peephole to see an empty hallway. Heart pounding, I call out, "Hello?" But the silence that follows is thicker than any response. I bet someone knocked and then realised their mistake before I got to the door. Yes, that's it, I convince myself, so I shrug it off and go back to my desk. Minutes later, the phone's shrill ring jolts me out of my thoughts. Hand trembling slightly, I pick it up. A man's voice, calm and clipped with a British accent, says, "You dropped something earlier today." It's waiting for you at reception. Before I can ask what, the line cuts off with a cold click. Curiosity gnaws at me, but I'm not about to step out into a dark, empty hallway. I call down to reception instead, and the guy confirms it. "Yes, someone left something for you," he says, offering to have a porter bring it up. Gratefully, I accept. The knock comes soon enough, and when I open the door, it's just a young man in a smart but slightly crinkled porter's uniform, holding out a small package. I tear it open, my hands moving faster than my brain can process. Inside, there's an old photo. My breath hitches when I hold it under the light. It's Claire, younger, dressed in a simple black dress that brings Audrey Hepburn to mind. Not something she'd wear these days, but there's no mistaking her. On the back, a hastily scrawled note reads, "Meet me at the Drawbridge Cafe next door at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Come alone." Sleep is out of the question now, but when the sun finally creeps through the curtains, I drag myself out of bed, restless and uneasy. I decide to go. By the time I reach the cafe, it's buzzing with life. Bright sunlight floods the room, almost too harsh after a sleepless night. The smell of strong coffee mixes with the low hum of hungover conversation. People slump over mugs, nursing their drinks like lifelines. My eyes zero in on him, sitting at the back. He checks his watch, looking slightly annoyed, but I'm right on time. Nothing stands out about him, so ordinary that it feels like he's trying too hard not to be noticed. He gives me a quick nod as I walk over. He introduces himself as Alex Dunmon and says he's a journalist. Apparently he's been digging into Claire's past for some story he won't disclose. He seems serious, even concerned. He tells me he reached out to warn me, but before he can explain much, he suddenly stops. His eyes dart to something behind me, but I don't turn around. His eyes flickering around the room. "We don't have much time," he says, suddenly urgent. "What do you know about Claire's work with Wiremu?" The question throws me off balance. "She buys fashion products from him," I reply slowly. He studies my face like he's expecting more. I feel a rush of anger within me. Who is this man thinking he can send me a cryptic midnight message and expect me to tell him, a stranger, about one of the closest people to me? Crossing my arms, I meet his gaze head on. His eyes narrow, a hint of frustration creeping in. "Do you know your boss? I mean, really know her, or are you one of her puppets too?" The way he says it sets something off in me. Before I can stop myself, my fist slams onto the table, anger flaring hot and fast. But he laughs. It's so out of place, loud enough to turn heads. "That's too much," he says, wiping an imaginary tear from his eye, like we're sharing some joke. I realise the cafe has gone quiet. "You couldn't make it up, seriously," he continues, lowering his voice a little. The cafe noise picks up again. People turning away, and I realise he's covering for my outburst. Smart. My arms cross again, but now the tension's different. He leans in, voice lower now. You don't know me, and I get it. I've just walked into your life, but you can check me out. Google me. His face shifts. His eyes flicker to something behind me again, but I keep still, my gut tightening. He quickly scribbles something on a napkin and slides it to me. Call me if things start making sense, he mutters before getting up and heading out, leaving me sitting there confused as hell. I glance down at the napkin, expecting just a phone number, but there's more. Scrawled underneath are the words, "Follow your instinct, be careful, they're watching."